on Fridays, we welcome in Lisa Lanier to the Two Guys Named Chris show, our official attorney of this program. The segment is called Lawyer Up, inside several legal cases, and she solves them all in a matter of moments. Lisa, good to have you. You were on with us just a couple of days ago at this time, too. Thank you.
Yeah, good to be here. Hope y'all are doing great.
We're still buzzing from your last appearance about the woman in your office creating OnlyFans content.
That's right.
You know, I got a lot of phone calls wanting to know who that is.
Well, whoever it is can sling her titties around pretty good. Now, we know that. Your words now, not mine.
Not ours.
Not our words. When I got home, my wife said, I heard Lisa Lanier today. I said, yeah. And she goes, I really admire her for just putting it all out there. I said, that's right.
That's what she does.
That's darn right. You know, my wife at your Halloween party when you were the over-the-hill Hooters girl, she said, I wish I could just put it out there like that, like Lisa does. And this year, as you went as the human Diddy party.
Oh, wow.
I said, exactly. You just respect it, She's just there. Yeah. She just does it. Inside the legal cases today, this one fascinates me. Now, it comes from Canada, Ottawa, where a guy named Joel McNeil says he's been charging his electric vehicle at his apartment complex with no issues for 3 years. But now the landlord says, you don't get to charge that here. That's using way too much electricity, and we don't pay for that. Now, his utilities are paid for. That's part of his agreement, that he gets water and electricity, through he pays a certain fee for that. But the landlord now says, oh, no, this is something I'm not.
This is gassing your vehicle.
Yeah, your vehicle.
In a matter of.
Right. It would be like another tenant saying you got to pay for my gas because this is your vehicle, not your home. So the guy who's been charging up his vehicle says he asked about this a few years ago to someone else.
When he signed the lease, I think.
And they said, yeah, go ahead. Charge it all you want. So what are you thinking here, Lisa? Who's in the right, the landlord or the tenant?
I actually think that in this situation, because it's in Ottawa, and they're very kind of pro-consumer, and as far as landlord-tenant, they're more pro-tenant. Partly that, and partly because he did check with the leasing agent, the rental agent, and he's done it for 3 years. And it's like all of a sudden now the owner of the building, I think, visited, saw it happening, and was upset that he'd been given permission to do it and was trying to revoke it. He does pay a rent that includes electricity, and I think that makes a big difference too, because are they? They're not really allowed, I don't think, to go around and say, well, how are you using the electricity that we've agreed to, to furnish? And because some people, have more appliances, leave their lights on, all sorts of things. And he's choosing to do this. He's done it for 3 years. He got permission, and he's in a very pro-consumer place. Now, if it was in the United States, there are a lot of, we're far less tenant-oriented, for one thing, and we, in about a dozen states that have tried to promote electric vehicles and environmental stuff, they have these laws that say that if you have a tenant in an apartment or condo that has one of these EVs, that you have to allow them to install a charging station at their expense. It has to be professionally done by an electrician, and the tenant pays for the electricity.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. That makes sense, too. But it's always interesting, like where it is matters. And in this case, in Ottawa, the tenant is going to win. I thought he might. And I got an email later saying, it only costs about $50 a month maybe to do something like that. It's slow
to fuel up EV.
Yeah, it doesn't cost nearly as much as you think it does to fuel up an EV. Yeah. Yeah, and so he's probably at about $50 or $55 a month to do that. So it's not like it's breaking the guy. It's like it's $1,000 a month or something for the owner of the building.
It's been forever since I rented an apartment, but I don't know that my electricity was included. Maybe I think I got a power bill.
Yeah, I did. I that's odd to me that it's all included like that.
But friendly.
Yeah.
But tenant friendly.
Yeah. That's Canada. I've got a friend at the gym who's from Canada. And he was saying the other day about he was talking about the election results. Well, now he's left. Okay. He leans left. So you know what I do when I see anybody? I mirror it.
You mirror whatever they're saying.
When I have a MAGA guy come into the office and say, how about that election?
You grab your red hat out of the drawer.
Yeah, brother. But when I have somebody who leans left,
I'm very worried about the next 4 years.
That's right. So he came to me and said, what about that election? And I said, I guess I'll just move on up to Canada with you. And he goes, don't do that. We're too liberal up there. I was like, yep. I had to play it both ways. Like, that's right. That's right.
You overplayed your hand?
I overplayed. I was like, I guess you and I'll just run up to Canada. Overdid it. Overstepped. Then I met with another guy yesterday, and he goes, how about that election? I started doing the Trump dance. I was like, yeah. I knew which way. He leans right. Okay. So I mirrored right back at him. How about this for consumers, Lisa? The recent Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. I didn't see it, but the resounding review of it was, A, Tyson did nothing. It was as boring as it could be. And B, Netflix really struggled because they were buffering the entire time. And now they got your football games on Christmas Day. Netflix will be streaming a couple of football games. So one guy in Florida, Ronald Denton, nicknamed Blue, filed a, you're my boy, Blue. He filed a class action lawsuit calling Netflix's failure legendary and suing for breach of contract. He says people got Netflix simply for this fight, would never have bought it without it. So he wants his money back on Netflix for a month because he wouldn't have bought it without the fight being on, and then they didn't deliver on the product. Any chance, Lisa? We figure he probably signed something when he signed up, or anybody who did buy it signed something saying they're not responsible. Netflix not responsible. What do you think?
Yeah, he's trying to make it a class action lawsuit, which a lot of these streaming services, their contracts have clauses that prohibit you from bringing a class action lawsuit against them or purport to. And oftentimes courts won't find liability for technical issues unless they are a really ongoing problem. Like if it was a one-off because they just had, an unexpected number of users for this event, then they often don't find any liability because, they had projections for how many people were going to watch it, and that they blew that out of the water. Like there was way more people watching it. And so it's like you said, it's the fine print when you hit I agree that they've probably limited their damages also to 1 month, which is what this guy wanted anyway.
Yep.
So, Netflix possibly might settle with some of these people for 1 month of service because that's kind of what they contemplate in their service agreement.
Yeah.
So, but he may be denied class action because of the clause in the contract. We'll just have to see. But it's definitely not a slam dunk, and It's not something where they typically find. And they usually have an arbitration clause, so he may get kicked out of court for that too.
Yeah. I thought Chris Demm made a good point. When you sign up for something like that, any of these streaming services or anything where, we don't read the contract, somewhere in it says, oh, by the way, this product may be crap. It might not work. Right. And we're just like, oh, okay.
Agree.
It's like seeing a sign at a restaurant, like, this food might be terrible. Be like,
yeah,
all right.
And really, what was more terrible than the service was the fight. I stayed up and watched it. I stayed up. So it's hard for me to stay up that late in my old age. And I'd stayed up, and I'll be darned, it was just like, really? I stayed up for this?
I know.
Crazy.
Well, Lisa, I don't want you to give away your age, but are you of the it sounds like you might have been from the era of the age demographic that was hoping Tyson would punch this guy's lights out.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Me too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But unlike
he never had a chance.
No, he did. He got killed. But unlike you, I was not able to hold my eyes open until I was asleep even before the undercard started. Yeah, I was like, all right, I'm just going to bed. Now this leads to the next lawsuit, and I was the only one fighting for this sports attorney who says, I believe, this is a sports attorney talking, saying people who bet on Jake Paul to knock Mike Tyson out, they have lawsuits because that was the easiest odd you could get on these betting sites. And it was like, the most favorable odds were that Jake Paul would knock him out. But as everybody pointed out, Jake Paul started to take it easy on Mike Tyson. And even after the fight, he said, yeah, nobody wanted to see me knock him out, so I just didn't. And so this sports attorney says, he, on face value, has to give his best effort. And had he done that, he would have knocked Mike Tyson out, and all the bettors would have won their money. Could there be a lawsuit over something like this? It seems far-fetched. Lisa, what do you think?
Yeah, well, the combatants in a boxing match are obligated to give their best effort, and that's even if there's a risk of serious bodily injury to their opponent. That's the whole point, right?
Right.
And so he essentially threw the fight in a way. He didn't completely throw it, but he gave up a possible knockout, and I do think that caused a lot of people to lose money, and it'll be unprecedented because I don't think we've ever seen this kind of situation before and usually gambling platforms and gamblers don't fare well in these kinds of lawsuits, and so they're up against a lot. But it is, I mean, I get why they're upset.
Yeah.
Because, but there's layers and layers to it, because they say that Tyson, he had that bleeding ulcer just a few months ago.
Yep.
And they said that he was continuing to have problems from that, and he was very sick in the days leading up to the fight. And, he may have been in terrible shape, and maybe they shouldn't have even let him fight. You know, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to it. And on one hand, you don't want to kill the guy, if he's like in really bad shape.
Right, yeah.
And, so I mean, I can see all but you lose all this money because you're expecting, and the way they hyped it, like they hated each other and the slapping.
Yeah. Another interesting point I think the sports attorney makes is they didn't bill it as like this is an exhibition for fun. They called it a fight. Right. It's sanctioned as a fight, so they're supposed to give it.
They turned it into an exhibition, essentially.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. It is hard for me to believe that you could win, but I do, like you said, see what they say.
Lisa's right. There's to me, there's so many layers to this. It was a sanctioned bout. You're right.
Yes,
Kelly was correct. It was a sanctioned bout in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
But they did not use any of the professional rules.
That's true.
No boxing match ever has had those rules.
2-minute rounds.
8 rounds.
Yeah.
Fluffy gloves. Did you hear, now, I don't know if you've heard this, Lisa, Mike Tyson was interviewed by a TikToker before the match.
One day prior, maybe?
Yes, and she got to him. What's her name?
Jazzy.
And
She's 13.
She said, 13-year-old, and she says to Mike Tyson, what do you want your legacy to be after this fight? And he gave her the most blunt answer we've ever heard.
In your return to the ring for this fight, you are setting a monumental opportunity for kids my age to see the legend, Mike Tyson, in the ring for the first time. So after such a successful career, what type of legacy would you like to leave behind when it's all said and done?
Well, I don't know. I don't believe in the word legacy. I just think that's another word for ego. It means absolutely nothing to me. I'm just passing through. I'm going to die, and it's going to be over. Who cares about legacy after that? I want people to think about me when I'm gone. Who the cares about me when I'm gone? No, we're nothing. We're just dead. We're dust. We're absolutely nothing. Our legacy is nothing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Wonderful.
I wish the camera had slowly pulled in on Jazzy's face.
Yeah, poor kid.
Thank you so much.
That kid's hair still smoking from that mind-blowing answer.
We're all dust. Why even interview me? It's over. Classic. That's Tyson for you. Don't talk about his legacy once he's done. It seems like we have this case all the time. And once again now, a guy named Shawn Miller flying home on Frontier Airlines from Myrtle Beach back to his home in Philadelphia in late September apparently had hot tea spilled on him. It spilled. He says it was filled too high in the cup, filled to the brim. He spilled it, as so many do, onto his testicles, his penis. He's 56 years old. He says since then he's had a terrible time with it. He suffers from now third-degree burns, a lack of feeling now in the penis, scrotum, crotch area.
All right.
Discoloration. Discoloration.
In which areas again?
Penis, crotch, scrotum,
tank.
all tank.
Stop it.
No, I didn't hear anything about the taint in the article.
Upper inner thigh.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I may have overstepped when I said
I
taint.
think you went too far with the taint. I think his taint might have been protected from the hot water. I don't know.
But as Chris Demm pointed out the first time I was listing all these things, he's like, yeah, but tea has to steep. It's got to be really, really hot. Who's it on? Is it on the airline? Can he get a lawsuit out of this? Usually the answer is yes. What do you think, Lisa?
Yeah, the answer is yes here. And he did have third-degree burns on his junk. That's pretty bad, right? I mean, third degree is third degree.
That's right.
And with airline cases, the airlines are held to a higher duty than just like if you were on the ground and you were hurt at the store or something. And so they're even sometimes found liable for turbulence injuries and things like that. So it's really almost like strict liability if you were hurt. And here he is alleging that they were negligent, that the water was too hot and that it was filled too high, and that kind of thing. So The moral of the story is order a cocktail.
Right. That's right. If you could say a cold drink is what you do. Yeah.
At least keeping it real, like Tyson.
She's got once again. She just puts it out there, like, dude, order something.
Do we know in the case of the airline man with the badly burned scrotum, genitals,
penis, all of it?
Did he order the tea, or was someone passing it to him, or was this a turbulence thing?
I think it was his tea.
I think it was his tea. It was just overly full, and he must have been either at the window or the middle, because they said that they were packed on there so tight that he couldn't even get up.
Yeah.
That he was trying to get up and he was just unable to.
In agony.
I'm on fire.
He was in agony. His crotch was on fire.
Yeah.
How about the guy, similar area, area of the body, he had his penis tattooed. And this is in Brazil.
Oh, the DJ from England?
The DJ from England who had his penis tattooed and said he's not allowed to have sex now for 3 weeks, and nobody told him that, and he can't go without sex for 3 weeks. He's ready to sue the tattoo parlor. Lisa, any chance of a lawsuit victory for him?
I don't think so. I mean, it's pretty standard that you have to take care of the kind of the wound site that is created when a tattoo is done. And so I think even if they didn't tell him, it's common sense. And it's very temporary. It's only, I think they said 15 days.
Yep.
He was supposed to refrain. But this guy is, he's a DJ, he's an influencer, and he does all these videos about his, is it polyamorous lifestyle? Because he has like 5 or 6 wives at a time.
That's right.
Or girlfriends.
That's right.
And he's kind of out there. I don't think he's going to go anywhere with this.
I don't think so.
Pretty common knowledge.
Yeah, it seemed pretty ridiculous. The big
audacity.
Total audacity for him. Big breaker today in a celebrity case. Jussie Smollett, if you remember that name, he was convicted on charges that he staged a hate crime against himself. This is
on the streets of Chicago?
Several years ago, yeah. And in 2021, he was convicted of doing this. But Mayor Rahm Emanuel apparently appointed a special prosecutor to investigate it. He wanted him convicted and got it done. Now the conviction has been overturned by the state Supreme Court. You think that sticks finally, Lisa? And it was a 5-0 vote in Illinois, correct?
Yeah, I think, it made me throw up in my mouth a little bit, but it was the right result. Yeah,
because that guy.
Yeah.
I think Chris Demm sees through everything. That story, I was like, let's go with it in A block. And Chris Demm says, this is a non-story. This guy, you remember when he was attacked?
Too many red flags.
He's like, too many red flags on this thing. And he really did stage it, right? He faked it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I can't stand that guy. But it was, as far as the legal, in spite of it making me throw up a little bit, it's the right result because what happened was the prosecutor originally made a deal with him, and he carried out his end of it. The deal was he had to do community service, and he had to relinquish his rights to the refund of his bail. So that went to the city, and then he was done, and he had done his part. And the judge said, "Look, you can't go make a deal with somebody, and then they rely on it to their detriment. They perform their part of it, and then somebody comes along later and goes, wait, time out, I didn't like that."
Yeah, exactly.
So, so from the big picture standpoint of criminal justice, it's the right thing, and it was a slam dunk, really. It was a 5-0 in the Illinois Supreme Court, but you still hate to see this guy get his name cleared.
I know that's emotional justice for me. You're
but I think his reputation is going to be tarnished forever.
Gone. I don't think he'll get another job. At least what he was. He was on television. He had a successful TV show. One more quick one on food today. Kraft Heinz in court over claims that macaroni and cheese, and here we are going right into Thanksgiving, has additives. Surprisingly, but one person is saying there are still additives in your macaroni and cheese. You said you're going to take them out. Is Kraft macaroni and cheese, are they doing well enough with taking additives out of their product? What do you think, Lisa?
Well, they say on the box, no artificial flavors, preservatives, or dyes. And apparently they use citric acid and sodium phosphates that are all of those things. Oh. And so I think they have a problem here, but it's really, what consumer? I think there ought to be in these consumer class action lawsuits just a duh factor. Like, come on. Did you really look at that orange powder and think that there was nothing in that? Really? You think that's just some cheese, some unpreserved, uncolored cheese? That is special. That is really special. There ought to be just a duh factor where you're just dismissed. You're just
all right. That's it. Duh.
The duh factor.
It's over. That's it.